Welcome to the Age Gracefully Show with Dr. Michael Grossman, the well-known anti-aging stem cell and regenerative medicine specialist, best-selling author, and founder of the OC Wellness Clinic in Irvine, California. Each week, he shares the latest information to help you look and feel your best so you age gracefully. And here's your host, Dr. Michael Grossman.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Michael Grossman, anti-aging physician specialist in keeping you youthful and vital. I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. I help people stay young, feel young, and it's a delight to do that. Today, we're going to talk about keeping your brain young. It's real important to keep your brain young. Brains tend to age along with the rest of your body. When your joints get young, they hurt. They don't feel good. And you can tell when your joints aren't working well when they're aging, but your brain, not so much. You can get a little hint that, oh, gee, I'm not remembering things as good as I used to. Maybe that's a little bit, but really the brain can have a lot of injury from aging before you even notice it. And once you notice it, it's really hard to get it back. We're going to focus on keeping your brain young. So why does the brain get old? What happens? How does it work? Well, when you do MRIs on people's heads as they get older, the brain shrinks. You can lose a huge amount of volume just naturally as you get older. You go to the doctor, you're 50 years old, they can say, hey, you've got a young looking brain, it's fine. Go when you're 70, oh my goodness, your brain has shrunk. They say, oh, it's normal, shrinking is normal. You get a lot of shrinkage, you lose 20%, 30% of your volume. They say, well, that's just aging. Well, that's not good for you. It causes a lot of problems. You're losing a lot of your brain function, your ability to be creative, to think clearly, to have new ideas, to be able to remember and to be actively involved with the learning process of life. You don't want to have your brain get old. Besides shrinking, when your brain gets old, you can get clogging of the arteries. Your arteries can clog anywhere in the body. In the brain, what happens is the small arteries tend to clog. Occasionally, you can get the big arteries clogging and you get strokes. That's a major thing. But usually, we're dealing with just a little bit of artery clogging all over the brain. Big problem when the brain loses its blood supply. Then you get things called amyloid deposits. These are funny kind of the proteins that get deposited in the brain from injury over time. And they gradually cause ongoing problems of Alzheimer's. They're working on figuring out a prescription medicine that actually will prevent this Alzheimer amyloid deposits, but they don't have it yet. So right now, we're going to tell you how to prevent that. And we're hoping to get the cures for those who already have it. But right now, it's prevention. So how do we prevent this brain aging issue? Well, one, I think the most important and the easiest and most dramatic way of rejuvenating the brain is through hormones. Women have a lot of estrogen, men have a lot of testosterone, but women need estrogen and testosterone to keep their brains young. There's a lot of research showing that natural human hormones of estrogen and testosterone help to keep your brain young. It does not work with the synthetic hormones. Synthetic estrogens do not keep your brain young. The animal-based hormones from horse mare urine do not keep your brain young, but natural human estrogen does help women to keep their brain young, along with testosterone, natural human testosterone. Now, for men, we need natural human testosterone to keep your brain young. As men get older, they do get more estrogen, but they lose so much testosterone. Testosterone helps men to stay vital, to stay enthusiastic, to stay excited about life. And that helps to keep your brain young. It makes a huge difference in youthfulness of your brain. And I do a lot of hormone replacement, so that's a whole nother discussion, but you need to know it's very important. Another thing that's so important to keep your brain young is preventing artery clogging. Now, if you get artery clogging in your heart, you get certain issues there. You get chest pain. You have things you can measure and say, oh, my heart is clogging. But when it clogs up your brain, it's the little arteries clogging. You don't feel anything. You just start losing your brain functioning. You need to have different tests done to see how your arteries are doing. Cholesterol by itself is not all that helpful as a measurement of how much artery clogging you're having. If you have artery clogging and you have high cholesterol, yes, you want to reduce your cholesterol. But many people have high cholesterol, don't have artery clogging. Many people have normal cholesterol and have a lot of artery clogging. You can test the carotid arteries with an ultrasound, simple office test, very harmless. Gives you a good idea of your artery clogging. You can measure your arteries. You can measure the elasticity of your arteries. I do it in my office all the time. A simple artery stiffness measurement can give you early signs of hardening of the arteries. And we have ways of correcting that. Nitric oxide is a fantastic natural way to correct artery hardening. It also helps sexual functioning, but it's great for the arteries. We have many natural approaches to reducing the artery clogging, like aged garlic, not regular fresh garlic, but aged garlic. Very, very helpful for artery clogging. So these are some natural things. You want to measure that, see if you're having trouble, and then you want to take the right steps to prevent that. Other things would be pre-diabetes. Diabetes, we know, causes many problems in the body. It causes problems with the kidneys, problems with the circulation in the legs, problems with the vision, so many problems you get from diabetes. But if you have just a little bit of diabetes, you can have a lot of problems in those areas. The brain is very, very sensitive to diabetes. If you have a little bit of diabetes, you know that from the hemoglobin A1C measurement, which tells us how much blood sugar you've had over the last 2 months. So it's a very accurate measurement. 5.7 and below is a reasonable number. Above 6.0 is not a good number. You need to know what your number is. If it's not a good number, we have a lot of different ways of improving the artery hardening, of improving the diabetes to prevent artery hardening. If you have high insulin levels, that's a very early sign of diabetes. And we can take steps to prevent that. So there's a lot of things to do for diabetes. That's a whole nother discussion. You know, you have to exercise, you got to eat right, lots of nutrients to take. So we have lots and lots of things to do to help diabetes. You've got to know what your number is. Other things that help artery, that help your brain to stay young, besides the arteries and the diabetes, is certain nutrients are really important. As we get older, we tend to lose B12. We lose the ability to absorb B12, and we lose the ability of having high levels in our blood, which nutritionally we need for our brain. We need it for other things too, but it's critical for brain functioning. You need to know what your B12 level is, and you may need to take injections, because as we get older, we don't absorb it from our food. Even though we take a vitamin with B12, you can take it sublingually, it helps, but injections of B12, very critical, very critical. There are other nutrients that are real helpful for brain function. We have things like NADH, which is a B vitamin type of nutrient, very helpful for the brain. We have ginseng, which is an herb that's very helpful for the brain. The ginkgo biloba is also another herb that's extremely helpful for the brain. The ginkgo tree lives for 3,000 years. It's very, very helpful for the brain. So these are different nutrients that are very helpful for the brain, and very important to have some measurements of the B12, and to know if things aren't going well, you need to be adding these into your nutritional support. Other things to think about: growth hormone as you get older is gradually getting less and less. The older you are, it just keeps going down and down. And growth hormone is very important for the brain for several reasons. One, it directly helps the brain to stay more youthful, just like it would your skin and your muscles everywhere else. But it also is critical for sleeping. So growth hormone is necessary for deep sleep, where you sleep deeply and you dream and you release stress and you neutralize any imbalances in your brain functioning. The growth hormone is something that when it goes down and down and down, you just feel old. You just lose vitality, but you lose your brain functioning because you need to sleep deeply. As you get older, men and women don't sleep as much. They say, well, I don't need my 8 hour sleep anymore. I only need 5 hours sleep. That's all I need, but I don't dream. And yes, my brain is not nearly as enthusiastic and clear and memory and all that as when I was younger. You need growth hormone increased in your body. And to do that, we don't give you growth hormone, we give you releasing factors because the pituitary gland at the base of the brain does not release the growth hormone. It makes it and it's waiting for the signal. When the signal would come in, it would release the growth hormone, but it doesn't come in, so it doesn't release it. You're supposed to release it when you're sleeping and when you exercise. So when we give you the releasing factors, we give it at bedtime so that you get the natural, healthy sleeping, the deep sleep where you're dreaming and you're really resting deeply. The brain's like a computer. It needs to defrag. It needs to get rid of all that imbalances and all that stuff in the brain. And that's what you need the growth hormone for. So we do a lot of growth hormone releasing factors here in the office. They're simple little injections into the belly fat. Very easy to do that. Other things that are real important for the related to sleep and rejuvenating the brain. If you have sleep apnea, it's not a nutritional thing. It's not a hormonal thing. It's a physical, mechanical thing. Men and women, as they get older, more men than women, but women too, you lose the elasticity in the throat and you go to sleep at night and you try to get the air to come in and it doesn't come in and you would take a big breath and then you're up. And you don't know why you're up because you were sleeping when you couldn't breathe. And once you took a big breath, you were up and all you know is you got up. But you didn't know that it was from sleeping that you were waking yourself up. Sleep apnea has to be treated mechanically. You have to go to a sleep lab. They'll analyze what the problem is and see how you're doing. You can do the sleep testing at home now. It's a very easy test. And once you find out you have sleep apnea, we have a lot of things to do that will help to straighten that out. There's mechanical things for masks and for nasal things and for mouthpieces, different kinds of insertions of different kind of things can help sleep apnea, but you've got to get that straightened out. Now, there are other things that help sleeping, and you have to sleep really good. It's very important to sleep good. Sometimes you don't sleep good because you just can't fall asleep. But once you fall asleep, you're okay. Sometimes you wake up, you fall asleep okay, but you keep waking up. That could be sleep apnea. It could be other things. If you wake up and your mind is going, and if you can't go to sleep because your mind is going, you've got to change your sleep routine, your sleep habits. No cell phones, no computers, no TV. You should have something that's calm and relaxing. Maybe you want to listen to a relaxing tape. Maybe you want to read a relaxing book. And you have to have a routine. Every night, that's what you do. You don't get yourself excited about things. You've got to have a routine where you calm down and your body will learn, this is what I do. And then you have to learn to sleep. And if you're not sleeping good and you have a good routine, then we have a variety of different nutrients and supplements that can be helpful. So number one would be melatonin. Melatonin, you can take natural melatonin, available widely. Some people need just a 0.5 milligram. Some people need 1, 2, or 3 milligrams. Some people need 6 or 10 milligrams of melatonin at bedtime. If you take too much, the worst that happens is you get a little sleepy and groggy in the morning. But you have to adjust and see how much do I need to have a good night's sleep. So there's lots of other nutrients that are real helpful for the brain to sleep, all kinds of herbs, and I do all kinds of other amino acids and very, very helpful things. So we have things like L-theanine, which is just a calming amino acid. It calms the brain so it's not so moving. And that can be great for people who have an overactive mind and can't sleep because of that. Last thing we'll talk about is stem cells. Stem cells are extraordinary for rejuvenating the body. They'll rejuvenate all parts of your body. We can inject into your knees, your hips, your ankles, shoulders, whatever hurts, and restore kidneys, liver, lungs, all kinds of things, heart. but it's great for the brain. We give it to you intravenously into your vein, and it wakes up your brain. It's fantastic. It's harmless, it's safe, and it's very effective. It is great to rejuvenate the brain. That would be, after you've done everything else, that is like the real supercharger for your brain. It is the natural way to take your own body and extract the growth factors that are in your body, usually from the fat around the belly or love handles. And these are cells that are waiting for a signal to let's go ahead and repair. So if you get an injury in your arm and your arm is bleeding, you get a signal from, okay, there's an injury here. Come on, send it in, stem cells, repair cells, and fix whatever the injury is. Well, we trick the body. We take out those stem cells that are waiting for a signal, and we wake them up. We separate them from the fat and wake them up and stick them in the veins, and they go throughout the body and say, where's the problem? We're going to fix it. And they look for the problem. If the problem's in your brain because it's getting old and it's all broken down, it goes in there and tries to repair whatever it can. And it's usually very effective. So that's a nice summary of what you can do to keep your brain young. As an anti-aging doctor, I'd love for you to come and see me and work with me to stay young and youthful. You can do it. It's a pleasure to work with you all. My office is in Newport Beach, next to the Orange County Airport. My phone number is 949-222-0232. My website is ocwellness.com. I love to see you. I love to work with you. I can work on the phone, do a lot of stuff on the phone now. Happy to do it. Well, it's a pleasure. Wishing you to stay young and vibrant. Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching the Age Gracefully Show with Dr. Michael Grossman. Join us next week for another informative discussion to help you age gracefully. Be sure to visit us at ocwellness.com.